I'm sick and tired of the way old King Pharaoh's treating my children, Moses, and you're going to lead them away. You're going to lead them out of Egypt and across the river of Jordan, and it's going to take a long time, and you ain't going on no excursion train. You're going to work awfully hard for something you're going to find when the trip is over.
What's that, Lord?
The land of Canaan.
No country has been a friend of the United States longer than Morocco. And as the treaty our nations signed in 1786 says, and I quote, "Trusting in God, it will remain permanent."
The first nation to recognize my country was Morocco.
You were the first nation to recognize us back in 1777.
As a student of history, I also know civilization's debt to Islam.
Understanding words is what you really need to start doing. Understanding words is what you really need to start doing. You need to start doing your homework and understanding words, especially in relation to law and government, because there is a world of occultism that is operating today throughout the world, in which you use certain words, and when those words are used in a court, they don't mean the same thing at all.
In 1796, our second president, John Adams, wrote, "The United States has in itself no character of enmity against the laws, religion, or tranquility of Muslims."
If you go back in history, in ancient history, where all of this began, back in the land of Canaan, and you probably have heard in the Bible, the land of Canaan. The Canaanites were Phoenician bloodline, and in the ancient Phoenician language, Cana meant merchant banker.
You've had 4 of these major impacts that the black people have made to the Americas. You've had 4 of these major impacts that the black people have made to the Americas. You've had 4 of these major impacts that the black people have made to the Americas, not only before Columbus was born, but before even Spain or Italy existed. That's the kind of roots that are in this country.
This is why you hear Lincoln talking about this is Egypt of the West, because they already know we're one and the same people, you know, and we got stuff here that's older than it is in Giza. And all scholars know that, but they won't admit to that because they keep us separating us from both sides like we're two different people. But those who know the real history know that we're one blood.
The very word merchant comes from mer, M-E-R, for the sea, for water. As a mermaid, we have merchant.
That's a small part of it. Long before that, there's a heritage of kings, seafarers, religious missionaries, and they were all here. But it happened so long ago, there's just so little of it left.
As a student of history, I also know civilization's debt to Islam.
And by knowing that, and the more you know about it, it's an empowerment.
You already know that we're Aboriginal indigenous to this land. We've been here not a couple thousand years.
An ancient Egyptian tomb of Macedonians in the middle of the heartland of North America. It doesn't get any worse than that.
Not 10,000 years.
Yes. It doesn't get any worse.
Hundreds of thousands of years. We ain't brought here from nowhere, no how. We've been coming back and forth here even before the land separated. So that ain't, you know, that old diaspora stuff is modern, contemporary social engineering controls to separate these people mentally from their inherited land.
I can't think of anything, you know, if the people looking for Alexander's tomb had tablets with Alexander, Mariam and Setep and Ra written in Egyptian glyph on them, they would just be dancing in the streets.
Yeah.
Again, when we talk about law, there's a Roman maximum in law that says, "For he that would be deceived, let him." Simply meaning, if you are so ignorant as to be deceived, then that's your business, that's your problem. So you need to do your homework and find out what the words mean.
You have got a heritage which is more than slavery. Sure, there was slavery, but that's not all.
If they had half, 1/10 of what it is that we have
but
here.
But if it was in somewhere where conventional wisdom would
right,
be,
right,
like
right.
say if it was in Syria or
Jordan or Macedonia or Greece or Italy.
But 2 hours east of St. Louis.
No.
Before I begin to address the significance of this strategic dialogue and the next step in our long relations with Morocco, I want to say a few words about the events unfolding in the world today.
It was innovation in Muslim communities that developed the order of algebra, our magnetic compass and tools of navigation, our mastery of pens and printing, our understanding of how disease spreads and how it can be healed. Islamic culture has given us majestic arches and soaring spires, timeless poetry and cherished music, elegant calligraphy, and places of peaceful contemplation.
In many ways, the United States looks to Morocco to be a leader and a model.
I also know that Islam has always been a part of America's story.
America's commitment to religious tolerance goes back to the very beginning of our nation.
That America and Islam are not exclusive and need not be in competition. Instead, they overlap and share common principles. The relationship between Islam and the West includes centuries of coexistence and cooperation.
And as you know, we are home to people of all religions.
More recently, tension has been fed by colonialism that denied rights and opportunities to many Muslims.
We are home to people of all religions.
As a student of history, I also know civilization's debt to Islam.
Many of whom came to this country seeking the right to exercise their own religion.
If you put an S in front of words, it becomes swords. And that's what words are. They're cutting. They can cause you great trouble. Humans are word-controlled creatures. So we need to establish what words mean.
As a student of history, I also know civilization's debt to Islam.
And we have the greatest respect for people of faith.
As the Holy Quran tells us, be conscious of God and speak always the truth.
Let us remind ourselves of the many ways in which not just our governments, but the people of our two nations have worked together.
In 1868, there was a corporation founded. Anyone can incorporate a company. Well, in 1868, there was a company incorporated. And in that particular company, the founders of that company they referred to it as the United States Corporation. And they stipulated that anybody who would be a member of that corporation or work for that corporation would be called not an employee, but a citizen. So today, if you are asked, are you a citizen of the United States, what you think you're being asked is, are you lawfully in this country to do business? That's not lawfully what's being asked. They didn't ask if you're in America lawfully. They ask you a specific question. Are you, of your own volition, out of your own mouth, testifying that you are a citizen of the United States? Because in that way, citizen of the United States means you are an employee of a foreign corporation operating on international maritime law. So today, the President of the United States is the President of a privately owned company. The company is called United States. And the word president is always a word that is used in corporate law. Banks have presidents. All companies have presidents. So there's a corporation called United States, privately owned, and it has a president. President Bush is not the president of America. President Bush is the president of a privately owned company. Privately owned, out of England. And you need to understand words and terms. Because I believe that there is a divine presence in the universe that men call God, and one day that divine presence is going to move on the earth and we're going to see freedom come back to this world. And when it does, you're going to need to understand words and terms and how they have been used to trick you.
As a student of history, I also know civilization's debt to Islam. As a student of history, I also know civilization's debt to Islam. It was Islam at places like Uluzar that carried the light of learning through so many centuries, paving the way for Europe's Renaissance and Enlightenment. I've come here to Cairo to seek a new beginning between the United States and Muslims around the world. I know there's been a lot of publicity about this speech, but no single speech can eradicate years of mistrust, nor can I answer in the time that I have this afternoon all the complex questions that brought us to this point.
I'm sick and tired of the way old King Pharaoh's treating my children, Moses, and you're going to lead them away. You're going to lead them out of Egypt and across the river of Jordan, and it's going to take a long time, and you ain't going on no excursion train. You're going to work awfully hard for something you're going to find when the trip is over.
What's that, Lord?
The land of Canaan.